everyone. For this Music Talk Tuesday, I am going to be briefly addressing some songs where you cannot understand the words. I find this category of songs to be very interesting because I think a lot of people can somewhat associate or disassociate with a song depending on whether you can understand what the song means and what the artists are trying to say within the song. But I feel like regardless though, these songs still provide sort of an interesting take when it comes to writing a song that's not really reflected so much on the lyrics or the writing. But despite that, they still have some things to them that I think make them stand out in a way that is unique compared to a lot of vocalists who really do emphasize the lyrics and really do showcase the words. So without further ado, let me sort of discuss some of these songs. The first one that I wanted to discuss is Yellow Ledbetter by Pearl Jam. I think Pearl Jam in particular is a band known for not really emphasizing their words, especially when the vocalist of Pearl Jam kind of often has this very sort of draining kind of voice. And I'm not kidding you. I'm going to try to do my best Pearl Jam impression, but it's probably going to fail. But just to give you an idea, it's kind of like hair, 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 now. And now, it just has that very kind of edgy, raspiness. It just sounds very unique, to say the least. And I think as a result, this has made the vocalist's words not really fully emphasized or fully, I guess, audible or easy to understand. That's something that I think makes it a song that you can't really understand the words, because it's really like a lot of it is very mumbled. There's maybe a couple of words you can get by listening to it, but it's all just like hair, 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 hey. It's just very, very it's just very unemphasized, but despite that lack of emphasis on trying to enunciate the words, the vocalist still possesses a lot of passion, and he really goes all into it with this song. And it also, I think, allows the audience to sort of enjoy the instrumentals maybe a little bit more if they're not really reading into the lyrics. And the song has a sense of mellowness and that I think is sort of refreshing, and it still comes off, I think, as enjoyable. But I think the interesting thing is just how unemphasized the words are. There's been people who've been trying to figure out what exactly this guy's saying. Some people have said there's like he's saying potato wave or something at one point. It's just so funny how how there's such a lack of emphasis on what the song really means, but there's still a lot of interesting things that come out of the song, regardless of that. So again, I think it's definitely a song worth recommending, but just know going into the song, you're probably not going to understand what the vocalist is discussing. So that's a song that I think is definitely worth considering. The next song that I wanted to briefly address is Smells Like Teen Spirit from Nirvana, excuse me. And it's not the fact that this one is sort of inaudible or difficult to understand in regards to what the vocalist Kurt Cobain is saying, more so as to what he means when he says these things. I think the most baffling ones are probably when he says, "I'm a lotto, I'm a albino, a mosquito, my libido." Like, what do these things have to do together? Is it just because they all end in O? Is that it? Is that the big Nirvana lyrical secret? Just put your most famous song with lyrics ending with the same vowel. It's really strange. Even Weird Al sort of kind of laughed and giggled and sort of made fun of this by, even making his own cover saying, "I don't know what I am saying." And it's kind of true. I think the song is just full of different, it's almost like it's trying to create a vision of things that don't make sense. Again, it's like, it's kind of like watching, the pink elephants on parade from Dumbo, or seeing something really trippy, like, the Toontown in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It is that kind of weird surrealism that kind of goes on, and it just has no sense to it. I'm sure there's people that have tried to make sense of what Nirvana's intentions were behind the song. And again, I can sense maybe just too from the angst that it is trying to again appeal to that teenage demographic, in particular the fact that it calls itself Smells Like Teen Spirit. So but at the same time, it doesn't really have I don't think a really ultimate message. It doesn't seem like it's really compact and concise, because again, a lot of the lyrics are just fairly random and don't amount to I think an ultimate meaning. So it has, I think, intentions, but I don't think it fully embraces the intentions, because I think Nirvana, I think, is a band that likes to keep things more open to interpretation. So it makes sense, I think, that something like Smells Like Teen Spirit would be considered one of their more well-known works, because I don't know what I am singing. It's that kind of song. And I think it despite the fact that there's a lot of confusion as to what he's saying, there's still, again, a lot of power and passion driven behind it. Except I think that passion is more driven through angst and sort of anger and frustration and rebellion, rather than being mellow and laid back like the Pearl Jam song that I mentioned provides. So that's, I think, something to consider, but I think it's definitely one of those more well-known songs that doesn't know what it's talking about. But I think that's really all I can mention about that one. The next song that I wanted to mention a little bit briefly is Barenaked Ladies, who wrote the song and made the song 1 week. The interesting thing about this song is that unlike Pearl Jam song, where it's very just and with Nirvana's, where it goes, I don't know what I am talking about, this song, Barenaked Ladies, just speeds up the lyrics. It does start off, I think, a little bit slower, but then it just speeds it up into overdrive, and it's hard to keep up. I mean, it's hard to really fully take in, like, this, and it's funny too, because it's a rock song. It's not really a rap song, and the fact that they say things so quickly, I think, is just showcases their talent, and just how crazy they make this song out to be by just speeding up the lyrics. And the funny thing too is there's a lot of things in this song that kind of they're just kind of goofy, or they don't make really a whole lot of sense. They're just kind of random things that get brought up. And there's lyrics like, I'm the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral. Like, it's just so deranged, I think, that it doesn't really have, I think, an ultimate message or meaning. Kind of similar to Nirvana's song. But I think it's generated on being a little bit more comedical. It's not intended to be angsty or mellow. It's really just designed to be full of energy and pizzazz and just kind of get you in a kind of kooky, happy sort of mood, I guess you could say. I think generally, though, speaking, from what I could tell from the lyrics, it's sort of addressing this conflict between these two people. You know, he even says, like, you know, within the chorus, it's been 1 week since you looked at me, but it'll still be 2 days till I say I'm sorry. You know, it's really trying to bring in this sort of conflict between two people. But I just think it's funny because it's almost like the lyricist who's trying to, I guess, address himself. When he does address himself, he sort of says like you know, he kind of sort of expresses, you know, how kind of deranged, I guess, how he thinks so strangely, and it's just a very goofy song. If you don't mind a song kind of just being completely out there and just trying to be, I think, at the same time a little bit comedical, a little bit more fast-paced, then I think you will enjoy this song in particular, and it just has that ability to stand out. So, without further ado, let me address the second to last song that I wanted to address, which is called Louie, Louie by the Kingsmen. Now, this was written by somebody else in the 1950s, but then the Kingsmen made it into their version of the song in the 1960s, and it's very catchy. It just has this very catchy, classic, you know, early 60s kind of beat to it. It's something that I think reflects the more traditional rock and roll, as opposed to some of these other songs that I've been mentioning that are largely based within the 90s. The interesting thing about the Louie Louie song is that the only thing that I could fully comprehend in the song was Louie Louie. Like, that's all I could get. I think it's sort of similar to Pearl Jam, where it's just inaudible, because the vocalist does have that kind of draining, you know, he doesn't fully, again, enunciate the words, and that kind of results in not us really understanding what the song is about. And these songs, again, might bother vocal teachers across the nation, because, again, I think vocal teachers in particular like it when people enunciate their lyrics when they're singing. But not with these songs in particular. I think what makes Louie Louie stand out is just how it takes this mellow approach, but it does it in a sort of traditional way, by having the traditional drums and other musical accompaniment to back it up. So it's just one of those kinds of songs. It's not super, I guess I'd say, as I wouldn't say it's super mellow like Pearl Jam song, but it still has that kind of just kind of laid back approach to it, where it's just all you can understand is Louie Louie, but despite that, it's just super catchy. So I think that it's definitely one of those songs that's just very interesting. And I think there's been a lot of commentary on it, so I think it only makes sense that I mention this song. Now, the second to last song that I'm going to mention, I believe, is from the 90s too, and it's called Loser, which is by Beck. And the interesting thing about this song is that there's a whole lot going on, kind of like in Barenaked Ladies, where he's just kind of saying just this randomness, and, you know, trying to tie it in with maybe some kind of concept or some kind of tone, but at the same time just being completely goofy and nonsensical. And this one kind of takes that similar approach, except it's not designed to, I think, be a very positive song. Again, the song is called Loser, and the one point within the lyrics, it says, trading cash for beef for the body of the for the hate, and my time is a piece of wax falling on a termite that's choking on the splinters. Like, what does that ultimately mean? Again, there's, I think, some things that you could say that Beck's trying to kind of address. Maybe that music is becoming more not really based on producing, but rather consuming, and it's not about trying to be artistic anymore. It's just about who will sell the most. I think there's some things within the lyrics, again, if you look at the lyrics, that seem to sort of suggest that, but it doesn't seem like there's a full purpose. And even within the chorus, I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? It does sort of take on this very negative kind of tone, and it does feel fairly draining, I think, too, similar to some previous songs, again, that I've mentioned, where Beck, I think, enunciate the words probably the most out of all of these songs that I've mentioned, except maybe Barenaked Ladies does it a little bit more. But in this song, I feel like he's really trying to emphasize the sort of misery that he wants to reflect in the song. He just kind of goes da 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 da. He's not at all enthusiastic about this song, and you'll sort of realize that once you listen to it. But regardless, I think it's an interesting song with just kind of really funky, deranged lyrics in a similar way that Barenaked Ladies has. But again, it takes a completely different spin by being a little bit more negative, a little bit more misery driven, and not necessarily as uplifting or goofy. So I think, though, that's really ultimately all I can say about these songs in particular. But if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I'll be sure to put all of the lyrics to these songs below, so that you may all enjoy whichever you would like to enjoy. And I will say goodbye. And stop trying to do a Pearl Jam impression, but it's just, he just has this really strange way of singing. I just find it hilarious and fun to listen to at the same time. But ultimately, that's all I can further address. Unfortunately, and I should just get this out of the way real quick, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do the fan request tomorrow with my book review, but I did make an order to my library that will that will give me the book. It's just that it might take them some time to ship it, so that won't probably be until a while, but I'll be sure to update everybody in regards to that, and I'll be sure to say it within my book review video tomorrow. But I just figured in case anybody was curious. But thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a pleasant week, day, month, and year, and goodbye.